Somewhere beneath the soil of Colombia, there are billions of dollars. Not metaphorically, not theoretically, literally. Cash, buried in barrels, sealed in concrete, hidden in walls, wrapped in plastic and dropped into lakes, and nobody knows exactly where. Pablo Escobar made so much money, he physically could not spend it fast enough. At the peak of his operation, he was generating $420 million every single week. His accountants estimated he wrote off $2 billion per year simply as losses. Not losses from bad investments, not losses from market downturns, losses from rats. Rats eating cash in storage facilities. $2 billion per year written off and forgotten. The buried billions, Pablo Escobar's hidden fortune, and the people still searching for it. To understand why Pablo Escobar buried his money, you first need to understand the scale of what he was dealing with. At its absolute peak, the Medellín cartel controlled 80% of the global cocaine supply, 80% of the entire planet's demand. The cocaine entering the United States alone generated revenues that exceeded the GDP of most Central American nations combined. Pablo Escobar's personal net worth at his peak was estimated at $30 billion. $30 billion in 1993 money, which in today's money is closer to $70 billion. And it was all cash. No bank accounts in his name, no stock portfolios, no real estate under his own identity. Just cash. Hundreds of millions of physical banknotes arriving faster than any human system could possibly process, move, or hide. His logistics teams worked all the clock, counting money, bundling money, moving money, hiding money. Pablo employed entire accounting departments whose sole function was tracking where the cash was hidden. Notebooks filled with coordinates, maps with coded markings, trusted lieutenants who memorized locations and told no one else. The problem was simple and catastrophic. Every time a lieutenant was arrested, he took his knowledge with him. Every time someone was killed, their locations died with them. Every time Pablo moved, new hiding spots were created, and old ones were sometimes simply forgotten. Millions of dollars simply forgotten because there were so many millions that losing a few was an acceptable operating cost. Pablo Escobar didn't use one hiding strategy. He used dozens simultaneously. Method 1. Underground burial. Cash sealed in industrial plastic wrap, placed in industrial plastic wrap barrels or PVC pipes, buried between 3 and 8 meters underground. On farmland purchased through intermediaries, on land belonging to people who had no idea what was under their feet. Method 2. Concrete construction. Money sealed inside the walls of buildings during construction. Houses, warehouses, commercial properties built specifically to hide cash inside their structure. The workers who poured the concrete replaced immediately after completion. Method 3. Underwater storage. Waterproofed containers dropped into lakes, rivers, reservoirs, waited to sit on the bottom, marked only in Pablo's personal notebooks with coordinates his inner circle memorized. Method 4. False floors and walls. In properties across Medellín, Bogotá, and Cali, renovation crews found hidden compartments for years after his death, some still being discovered today. Method 5. Rural farms. Trusted farmers paid to maintain land over buried caches. Farmers who died without telling anyone. Farmers whose children sold the land, never knowing what was underneath. Method 6. Hacienda Nápoles itself, his own estate, where 200 vintage cars were buried as what Pablo called future treasures. Several were excavated in 2019. Nobody knows how many remain. The total amount hidden this way, nobody knows exactly. Conservative estimates from Colombian government investigators place the figure between $2 and $5 billion. Other analysts, including former cartel accountants who cooperated with authorities, suggest the real number could be significantly higher, much higher. When Pablo Escobar died on that rooftop, the scramble began immediately, not for justice, not for closure, for the money. Colombian authorities launched Operation Treasury, a systematic effort to locate and recover Pablo's hidden assets. They found 47 properties across Colombia, hundreds of bank accounts under false identities, dozens of vehicles and aircraft, and cash in walls, under floors, in septic tanks, in garden furniture, in children's toys, stuffed with bundled notes. They recovered hundreds of millions of dollars, but investigators themselves admitted publicly they believed they had found less than 20% of what was actually hidden. Less than 20%. One former Colombian government investigator stated in a 2006 interview, "We found more money than we knew what to do with, and we absolutely knew, there was vastly more we would never find." Pablo hid money the way other people hide keys, everywhere, constantly, by instinct. Pablo's brother, Roberto Escobar, who served as the cartel's chief accountant, confirmed in his memoir that Pablo maintained a personal system of hidden locations known only to himself and 2 other people. Both of those people were dead by 1994. The locations went with them.
The search didn't stop in 1993. It has never stopped. Today, 30 years after Pablo's death, there is an entire underground industry of treasure hunters, former cartel associates, government investigators, and private contractors, all searching for the same thing: Pablo Escobar's buried billions. One hunter, who agreed to speak only anonymously, describes spending 11 years systematically searching land purchased by Escobar intermediaries in the 1980s. "We found 3 locations," he says quietly. "One was empty. Someone had been there before us. One had rotted currency, useless after 30 years underground. The third," he stops, looks at the camera, says nothing more. Several people who claimed to have located Escobar caches have disappeared, not metaphorically, literally disappeared. Former cartel members who knew hiding locations found dead before they could speak. Treasure hunters who announced publicly they had found something, gone within weeks. The money attracts people, and some of those people are very dangerous. Colombian police have documented at least 14 cases since 2000 where individuals connected to Escobar treasure hunting operations died under unexplained circumstances. 14 confirmed. Investigators believe the actual number is significantly higher because some disappearances are never reported at all. Pablo Escobar's son, who now lives in Argentina under the name Sebastián Marroquín, has spoken publicly about the money. In a 2009 interview, he stated, "My father told me there was money. He said someday I might need it. He never told me where." In his memoir, he describes being approached repeatedly by former cartel members, by government agents, by private investigators, by people he had never met, all asking the same question: where is the money? His answer is always the same: "I don't know." Whether that is true, nobody can say. But this much is documented and confirmed. In 2021, a construction crew renovating a house in Medellín, Pablo's former stronghold, broke through a wall and found $18 million in cash, bundled, wrapped, sealed, sitting in darkness for nearly 30 years, waiting. $18 million in one wall of one house in one neighborhood. Let's do the math. Pablo Escobar operated for approximately 15 years at the peak of his power. Conservative revenue estimates, $20 billion over that period. Amount seized by Colombian authorities after his death, approximately $4 billion. Amount laundered through legitimate businesses, estimated $3 to $5 billion. Amount spent on operations, bribes, armies, states, zoos, estimated $4 billion. That leaves, at minimum, $6 to $10 billion. unaccounted for, unrecovered, somewhere. $6 to $10 billion buried, sealed, hidden, in walls, in lakes, in jungle floors, in concrete, across Colombia, right now, waiting for someone to find it. Pablo Escobar spent his entire life trying to buy immortality. He bought politicians, he bought judges, he bought armies, he bought a zoo, and then he buried his money, the physical proof of everything he built, deep in Colombian soil. Maybe because he planned to come back for it, maybe because someone else knew he would, maybe because he wanted it to outlast him, the way the hippos outlasted him, the way his name outlasted him. The Colombian government has officially recovered less than a quarter of what experts believe exists. The rest is still out there, under farms where children play, under buildings where families sleep, under rivers where fishermen cast their nets every morning and pull up empty nets. $6 to $10 billion, waiting in the dark, exactly where Pablo left it. In 2021, workers renovating a house in Medellín found $18 million cash inside a wall. Colombian authorities believe hundreds of similar caches remain undiscovered across the country.
The search
The search
continues.
continues.